Okay. Let's see. Mic check. Sounds good on the app, okay. How about Facebook? Let's see. No. Okay. All right. Let's get started. B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach, Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We're back here on our Tuesday night War of Amalek series, the extraordinary words, prophetic words of Rav Elchanan Wasserman, Alav Shalom. And this series certainly has woken us up and has certainly opened our eyes, but what we're going to learn today will wake us up even further. Tonight's shiur is going to be for the Refuah Shlema and Atzlacha Rabba for Rabbi Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Avi Mori David ben Nesriya, Imi Morati Doris bat Zora, and all of Am Yisrael and all of the righteous Noahides that continue to support us and watch the shiurim with us and help us with all of the amazing campaigns that we have. Just for anyone who hasn't seen it, we did Baruch Hashem. The first Siyum Shas event happened today in Jerusalem. We had 500 Avrechim learning the entire Talmud Bavli. There's still another opportunity where there's another Siyum Shas event going to happen in a couple of days. This one I believe is going to be in Tveria. Another 500 Avrechim. I think we're may even have 3 different events. But Baruch Hashem, we have over 18,000 people that we're going to be sending them either money or food or both for this Pesach holiday. Anyone that wants to support, to fulfill their mitzvah of Kimcha the Pesach, of helping the poor in Israel, literally doesn't have a better opportunity than now, not only because now is the time, but also because I don't know of any other campaign that's out there right now that is combining this level of distribution of food as well as Torah at the same time. So this gives you the ability to benefit both from the Torah and from the helping the poor, and it's these are people that are the ideal people to help because these are all Torah scholars and their families. Over 18,000 people. We're probably going to be approaching even over 20,000 by the time we finish this because people keep coming and we have a hard time saying no. But Baruch Hashem that Hashem helps, and BeEzrat HaShem will continue to help. So anyone that wants to donate can do it on the website, BeEzratHashem.org, or you can do it on the app, you can do it on the campaign page. There's plenty of ways to contribute, Baruch Hashem. There's even a few people that are sending things, jewelry, watches. They're tight on cash, but they want to get rid of some other things, and so they're donating things like that. I think one particular guy actually is sending coins or bars or something like that. Whatever you can do to help is certainly welcome. Cryptocurrency, donor funds, whatever it is, we're trying to do the best that we can. But of course, it has to be something that's easy to sell if you're going to be sending something. Either way, this is an extraordinary opportunity to benefit both from the Torah and from helping the poor. and regardless of whether a person is a new student, an old student, a person that's in the process of conversion, or the person that is already Jewish, everyone can help, because there's a mitzvah for everyone to do something to help Jewish people, at this time, especially people that are in need. So, with that being said, Rabotai, we're going to get right into the series, where we have a situation in the world today where the news keeps getting worse and worse. There's a new horrible headline every day, it seems like. Whether it's a political situation or it's a community situation, whether the community is in Israel or it's in America, and unfortunately, the stuff just keeps coming, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't hit the news that we become aware of. People let us know. We get these different sources of information, and it's just horrifying that unfortunately people still are asleep at the wheel and not realizing what's really going on. Now, of course, there's a lot of good things that are out there. There's a lot of Torah available in the world, access to Torah. Baruch Hashem, the financial situation of people overall is generally the best it's been probably since the time of Shlomo Melech, even though there are many people that are struggling at the same time. But you don't really see that actually impacting the Torah world, the Kiruv world, the world that should really be benefiting from it. You're seeing that a lot of things, to a certain extent, are staying the same or getting worse. And you're also seeing that a lot of the bits of news that's out there is being ignored. Now, Rav Elchanan Wasserman has told us extraordinary things about the war of Amalek and the enemy that we're going to have to face. But I titled this lecture, Murdered by His Best Friend. Now, most people think of such a story only being in the movies. Baruch Hashem, it's been many, many years since we've seen a movie, but nonetheless, I remember, in the movies, they have all these plots, these clever stories that you'd never think this guy is the bad guy, or that guy is the good guy, or this thing would happen. And people think that this type of stuff happens only in the movies. Murdered by best friend. Yeah, maybe you heard of a headline like that happening in real life, but usually these are the types of things that people either think are in the movies or they're simply far from home. Rav Elchanan Wasserman's War of Amalek in his Kuntres, Omer Ani Ma'asai Lamelech, that I'm telling everything that I do is for the king. I'm telling my ways to the king. In this series, he's already taught us that the greatest enemy that Am Yisrael has is within our own nation. But tonight we're going to dig a little deeper into this very complicated sugya to see just how relevant it is when we compare past history to today. We have to ask ourselves, and BeEzrat HaShem be able to answer it. Are we surrounded by allies that want to destroy us? Are our best friends that call us brother really planning a trap? How, why, and whom are all going to be addressed in this extraordinary series, and the prophetic words of Rav Elchanan Wasserman have never shined like they do today. In section 20 of the Kuntres, Rav Elchanan Wasserman continues what he was saying in the previous section regarding the problem of honoring the rich, the wealthy, and the wicked, and the problems that this brings to Am Yisrael. He also builds upon the fact that we have significant enemies that few people realize we can't fight them with swords and knives and tanks. And he says, וצריך לדע ולהבין כי שלוחי השטן מתלבשים בלבושים שונים. It says we must know and understand that the messengers of the Satan wear different garments. Why does the Satan wear different garments? Because the Satan, even as creator, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, calls him Ra, calls him evil. Because the Satan comes to a person in different ways. Hence the reason why the Satan has many different names. The Gemara says he has 7 different names. Each one of the prophets called him a different name. Not because he has trouble remembering his name, or he just likes to do like what some people foolishly do, add a different name for every sgula they hear about. But rather because the Satan wears different garments based on his audience and how their emotions are stimulated. If he knows that this person's emotions are stimulated by money, he'll come to him as someone that can impact that goal that he has when it comes to money. If someone comes to him because he gets excited when he sees some type of immorality or immodesty, the Satan comes to him with some form of immodesty or immorality. If someone gets stimulated and excited when he sees different opportunities to beat the system, to beat the man, as they say, Satan will come that way. Different ways, different emotions, all based on what motivates the person. And Rav Elchanan Wasserman says that the messengers of the Satan work in the same fashion. They all wear different garments. כי יש מהן הבוחרים להמית התורה במיתה הקשה, שבתתקצ"ט מיתות, אזכרה. He says, because among those messengers that wear different garments, whether it's the girl, or it's the car, or it's the money, or it's the different types of things that people chase after, honor, with all of the different garments and opportunities that the Satan offers for people to fall into the trap, some of them, says Rav Wasserman, come to kill the Torah, to destroy the Torah with the worst possible death among the 999 different types of death that the Gemara mentions, which is the death of Askara. What's the death of Askara? Gemara says Kadosh Baruch Hu created 999 different ways for a person to die. They could drown, they could burn, they could a lot of different ways. But the worst of them all, the worst suffering, the Gemara says, is if a person gets a disease called Askara. What's Askara? That's when a person's throat closes a little bit at a time each day. It's the slowest, most horrific death there is. And Rav Wasserman compares that to some of the messengers of the Satan trying to be the most vicious against the Torah when they attack it. They have no qualms about mocking the sages, saying the Torah is fake, saying all types of things that are the opposite of what the Torah is, like a lot of the anti-Semites that go and highlight different parts of the Talmud that they didn't understand, that they're misinterpreting, sometimes intentionally, sometimes it doesn't even require intention, they're simply just that stupid. And they highlight these particular things. Why? In order to make the Torah hated by the people. Make the sages hated by the people. This is most common among Christian missionaries, like One for Israel, Jews for Jesus, and all of the other clowns, idol worshippers. Their primary target is the oral Torah and to make a person hate it. Because the moment you hate the oral Torah, that's it. They got you in their hands. They got you in their hands. So their first target is to make you hate it. Make you hate the sages. Now, when these people do that, they have no qualms about insulting, calling names, saying liars, all types of, accusations. But of course, anyone that read a little bit of history and hasn't been sleeping under a rock for the last, few years knows that this is not the only way that the enemy shows his viciousness. If we see how the enemies of the Torah, the Romans, the Spanish, and the Spanish Inquisition, Yevsektia in Russia, the communists, the Nazis, all of these different messengers of the Satan expressed their hatred of the Torah in the most vicious manners, in the most brutal possible way, to destroy the Torah. They didn't have patience to have a debate. No. They want to destroy it, uproot it. And even if there was a debate, it was simply a trap in order to get their way. Whether they win or they lose, they still destroy the enemy. Now, Rav Wasserman continues and says, well, some of them come in that way, others come in a different way. ויש ביניהם שימצאו לנכון יותר למטרתם לעמיתה במיתה נשיקה. Says, but among the same messengers of the Satan, the same enemies, there are those that wear a different garment, who find it better to fulfill their goal by killing the enemy, meaning the Torah, meaning Am Yisrael, with the kiss of death. They come to you with a smile, friendship, my brother, my long-lost friend, camaraderie, those types of things. But then says Rav Elchanan Wasserman, אבל אלו ואלו שואפים למטרה אחת. But regardless of what a person may think or think they know, this one and that one both aim for the same exact goal. אלא שחלוקים בדרכי הטקטיקה, איך להגיע אל המטרה המכוונת. Only difference between them is their tactics of how to arrive at the common goal. We see, Rabotai, that in the Gemara, in Masechet Brachot, page 61b, the story of Rabbi Akiva in his last days under evil, vicious, and brutal rule where they forbid Am Yisrael from learning or teaching Torah. This did not stop Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva continued teaching Torah in public to the masses. One day, the Goyim see that Rabbi Akiva is doing that, and they arrest him. Shortly thereafter, after arresting Rabbi Akiva for what? For teaching Torah. Going to a field, starting to speak Divrei Torah, and completing the lecture with, let's accept upon ourselves all Malchut Shamayim, the kingdom of heaven. Shema Yisrael. Doing kiruv, helping people do tshuva. Not in the Roman fields, or the Greek fields, or the Spanish fields, or the Arab field. No. This was our place. No, you can't teach Torah in your place. But it's my place. No. Under arrest. Are they going to free him after what? They're going to give him probation? No. The story unfortunately ends where Rabbi Akiva is arrested, and then they murder him in public by shaving off pieces of his skin and body, piece by piece. And after they took Rabbi Akiva's holy body, and his neshama left it, when he said Shema Yisrael, they cut it into small little pieces and then sold it, like the vicious animals that they are in the market. This was the ultimate way of showing the vicious nature of the enemies of the Torah. They saw that Rabbi Akiva is publicizing Torah. They had no qualms about killing him in the most heinous possible way. The Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah, in page 18, gives another story of another one of the sages with a similar end. But before that, it starts off with something that you would think perhaps is not necessary. What do we learn from it? The sages taught that when Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma became ill, Rabbi Hanina ben Tardion went to visit him. Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma was one of the Gedolei Ador. He's the sage that is mentioned in the Pirkei Avot, where they offered him an exorbitant amount of money to become the rabbi of some city. And when he said, what about the Torah that's there already? He said, no, there's no Torah over there. He said, I would not leave a place of Torah and go to a place with no Torah, even if you offered me all the money in the world. And the guy literally offered him all the money in the world. He said, no. So this same Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma became ill. He was dying. He was a very famous person. He was an extraordinary chacham. And even the government of the Goyim respected him, which we'll see in a moment. Rabbi Hanina ben Tardion, one of the other sages, came to visit him. And when he did, Rabbi Yossi says to Rabbi Hanina, my dear brother, I don't understand you. Do you not know that from heaven they've imposed on us as rulers this evil Roman nation, which has destroyed God's house, burned the sanctuary, killed the tzaddikim, and caused his nobles to perish, and his foreign rulers still exist, and yet I have heard about you that you sit and engage in Torah study and give public lectures, do kiruv, to disseminate the Torah. And the Torah scroll rests openly in your lap. Meaning, Rabbi Yossi is saying to Rabbi Hanina, I don't understand. Aren't you aware that these evil Romans, Amalek, are still in rule? These are the very same Romans that destroyed everything holy, killed tzaddikim, destroyed the Bet HaMikdash, forbidding us from learning, murdering sages left and right. For what? For learning Torah, needless to say, for teaching Torah. And you, Rabbi Hanina, you're not only teaching Torah, you're doing it publicly, and you're not even hiding it. You have the entire Sefer Torah in your lap. You're putting yourself at risk. You're putting yourself at extraordinary risk. And they continued talking. Rabbi Chana asks him about how does my Olam Haba look like. He tells him some of his deeds. And Rabbi Yosef ben Kizma says, I wish that my Olam Haba is going to be like yours. Because how honest you are with money. It's very hard to find people that are honest with money. As time passes, the Gemara says, just a matter of days though, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma passed away. Went to Gan Eden. Because he was an extraordinary sage, of course, Am Yisrael made a huge ceremony. But the Goyim also came. Not just any, but the Gemara says it was just not even a few days that passed after this event before Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma died, and all the great men of Rome went to bury him, meaning the leaders of the Romans. Because Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma knew how to get along with them without going to war with them. Still learned Torah, still taught Torah, but he did it in hiding without being face to face. So they respected him. They didn't know that he's violating their law, obviously. They respected his wisdom. And they all came. And it was very impressive for people that were looking upon it. Wow, look at that. See, look, these Romans maybe they're turning things around. Maybe there's going to be peace with them. Look, they're respecting our sages. The great men of Rome came to bury him. And they mourned him with a great funeral. But upon their return from the funeral, meaning they didn't even have enough time to rest from the funeral, they encountered Rabbi Hanina ben Tardion, who was sitting engaged in Torah study and convening gatherings in public for its dissemination. As these Roman leaders were coming back from honoring the Jewish Torah sage, on the way back, they ran into a Shiur Torah being given by Rabbi Hanina ben Tardion. And the Torah scroll was resting in his lap. All in open violation of their laws. They therefore brought him and wrapped him in his Torah scroll and encircled him with bundles of vine shoots and set him on fire. The Romans then brought tufts of wool, soaked them in water, and placed them over Rabbi Hanina's heart so that his soul would not depart the body quickly. In so many words, they killed him in the most horrifying possible, painful way you can imagine. But I don't understand. Didn't you just honor the Torah? Honor the leader of the Jews? Now you're killing one of his students? Now you're killing one of his brothers? Doesn't make any sense. But not only killing him in the most horrific way, in the most shameful way. In fact, Rabbi Hanina's daughter, the Gemara says to him as he's burning alive, because they put this wall separation between him and the fire, so it takes longer for him to die. So his daughter, his students, and even one of the goyim, the executioner, the one that put the fire on, all had conversations with him during this time. First, Rabbi Hanina's daughter says to him, Abba, must I see you in such state? He says to her, if I alone were being burned, it would be difficult for me. But now that I'm being burned and the Torah scroll is with me, Hashem, who will seek retribution for this insult of the Torah, will also seek retribution for my insult. Then his students came. And they said to him, Master, what do you see? He answers them, the blank parchment is burning and the letters are flying in the air. So they told him, you too should open your mouth so the fire will enter you, meaning so you could die quicker, not suffer as much. Rabbi Hanina says to them, it's better that he who gave the soul should take it, and that the person not inflict harm on himself. Why should I kill myself for Esther? If Hashem wants me to die, he'll take my soul. It got to a point where even the executioner saw the holiness of Rabbi Hanina and says to him, my master, if I increase the flame and remove the tufts of wool from over your heart, will you bring me with you to the life of the world to come? Rabbi Hanina answered him, yes. And the executioner said to him, swear to me. And Rabbi Hanina swore to him. Immediately the executioner increased the flame, removed the tufts of wool from over Rabbi Hanina's heart, and jumped into the fire and died quickly. And a heavenly voice came from Shemaim saying, Rabbi Hanina ben Tardion and the executioner have been readied for the life of the world to come. So here we see, Rabotai, a very confusing story. First we see that Rabbi Yossi is warning Rabbi Hanina, but Rabbi Hanina, just like Rabbi Akiva, is fighting for the Torah without thinking twice about his own safety. You know, some people, they have to give a shiur Torah, they come, oh, I had to do mesirut nefesh, I had to make sacrifices. What sacrifices do you have to make? Oh, you know, it's a long way. It took me an hour and a half to get here. Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't feel good today. I had a stomach ache. Okay, made a sacrifice. Some people make a sacrifice. Oh, I made a big sacrifice. I just donated, $500, $1,000. It's okay. Is that your entire month's salary? No. I make $50,000, but still, it's a lot of money. Oh, okay. So you made sacrifice. Everybody has different sacrifices. Here we see, if we even dare compare the sacrifices we make to the sages, we see that it's as if we're not making any sacrifices in comparison. They had to teach Torah, and literally their life was on the line, and they died for it. But again, different generation, different levels of sacrifices. The sacrifices that we make in this generation are appropriate for this generation. Nonetheless, we see that the story begins where Rabbi Hanina hears from Rabbi Yosef that he's endangering himself. But he continues. When Rabbi Yosef dies, everyone is impressed that Rabbi Yosef was such a great sage that even the leaders, the greatest men among the evil empire of the Romans, came to mourn his death, to honor him. And then, on the way home, they kill Rabbi Chaina. So comes Rabbi Chaim Shmuelevitz and asks, what is the Torah trying to teach us when it's telling us about the Romans coming to the funeral of Rabbi Yosef before murdering Rabbi Chaina? What is the Torah trying to give them? Some schut, some merits, that they did some good things and some bad things? What's the point of this whole thing? Of mentioning that they even honored Rabbi Yosef. I mean, obviously they killed everybody, destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, they did so many horrible things. Who cares about that? They went to mourn him. Says Rabbi Chaim Shmuelevitz, Rabotai Karim, listen close, because this makes all the difference. Says Rabbi Chaim Shmuelevitz, listen, my dear children, the Gemara is trying to teach you an extraordinary lesson here. The Gemara is trying to tell you, what the Gemara is trying to tell you. The Gemara is trying to tell you something about how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world. And in this world, you have Esav and you have Yaakov. You have the messenger of the Satan, Esav, and you have Hashem's children, Yaakov. And when there's a war, when Esav wants to destroy the Torah, he can come in two different ways, just like Rav Elchanan Wasserman was telling us. On one end, he could come to you like a vicious monster that Esav was, and he could burn you alive. On the other end, he could pretend like he's your brother and mourn you at your funeral. And why I say that in this particular situation? To teach us that it's the same enemy. The one that honored the tzaddik and the one that burned the tzaddik is the same exact entity. It's the same exact enemy. These are the words of Rav Elchanan Wasserman. On one end, we see the brutal nature of the enemy, but on the other end, sometimes the enemy wears different garments. Sometimes the enemy comes to us with a smile, a partnership offer. They say, listen, we have a lot of love for you. We're sending a lot of our people to Israel. We're committed to teaching you about Imach Shimo v'Zichro, to save your souls. We're going to feed you, give you food. We're going to give you everything. They come with a lot of money. Let's make a joint organization like Daily Wire or Judeo-Christian values. The Jews for this and Christians for that, everything together, Christian Jews United, all types of organizations. Have events at BRS, have events at Chabad, have events at different places where we can work together. Because we love you. Now, if this was just about highlighting the vicious goyim, the Romans, the Nazis, the Spaniards, the Turks, the Syrians, the Russians, all of the different nations that have tried to destroy the Jewish people, the lecture would pretty much be over now. But Rav Elchanan Wasserman is not referring to them here. You see, Avrechim is referring not to the Goyim, not to the Spanish Inquisition, not to the Nazis. Avrechim is referring to the enemy within, the messengers of the Satan that are within, but yet have the same common goal as the Nazi and the Spaniard and the Roman and all of the different versions of Amalek. And this enemy that's within also comes with different garments. Sometimes they come as a one for Israel, where they smile at you before they insult everything we believe in, everything that Am Yisrael stands on for over 3,300 years, making a mockery of our sages, our Torah, with a smile. But sometimes they don't come in such a brutal fashion. Sometimes they come like a leader, like a teacher, like someone wants your best interest. It says he's giving you a shiur Torah. Now he's not going to tell you that the shiur Torah that he's giving you is full of apikosus, full of heresy, full of wickedness, full of false statements that he's making up, an intentional manipulation of the text. He's not telling you that the sages said that wasting seed is forbidden. He's telling you they exaggerated. It's not really relevant anymore. And he writes a little blog about it. He's not going to tell you, listen, don't listen to the sages. He's going to tell you, listen, the Talmud, that's bad. You have to listen, you have to learn the Zohar, even though he himself never learned the Zohar. All the Talmud, he tells you all the truth is there. Why? He's trying to make it seem like as if he has rediscovered the wheel. He's discovered the truth. Everyone that's learning the foundation of the Torah, the Talmud, they're in the bad side. What does the Talmud he tells you? Oh, it's full of machloket, they're constantly fighting. The Zohar, it tells you what to do, which is literally the best proof in the world, shows that he never studied the Zohar. He doesn't even know what's in it. He's a chamor. And unfortunately, there are many chamorim like him. But they come with a smile. And they come with a kippah. They come with a beard. Avrechim says, you see, some of these messengers of the Satan that are coming to kill with askara, with the worst, most vicious way, while others are coming with the kiss of death, they seem different, but they're not. They both have the common goal, which is to destroy your connection to the Torah. In the book of Genesis, Sefer Bereshit, in Parashat Vayishlach, chapter 32, verse 12, Yaakov Avinu cries out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, pleased with him, and says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Atzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav. Save me, Hashem. Save me from my brother. Save me from Esav. We've said this before, where Yaakov Avinu is mentioning Esav twice. But the first time he mentions him is, save me from my brother. And then he says, save me from Esav. Why? As our own dear Rabbi Ephraim taught us, you see, Esav is a messenger of the Satan. Sometimes vicious, and sometimes pretending to be nice, pretending to be a teacher, pretending to be a supporter. Sometimes this messenger of the Satan will send you different missionaries and heretics with money, with a smile. Sometimes they'll send you different people that are going to try to destroy your belief in the Torah in the form of replacing it with atheism or some other thing. What Yaakov Avinu was already warning us about is that it's not just that they both have the same goal that we have to know from this, but rather that one is more dangerous than the other. Who's the more dangerous one? Well, we can look at our history. You see, throughout our history, Am Yisrael has had endless amount of enemies in every country that they went to. Whether they were in Israel or in the exile, the enemies looked for them. First, the enemy pretended to be a friend and benefited from them, benefited from the resources that the Jewish people bring to the table, the extraordinary intellect, the ability to produce, to be productive, to make money, to do good. But at some point, the enemy decided to destroy Am Yisrael, unless they converted to their religion, whether it be Islam or it be Christianity. Throughout history, an endless number of enemies have come to destroy Am Yisrael physically. But yet, through the mercy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Am Yisrael has always miraculously found a way to survive the vicious version of Esav. Whether it was the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Romans, the fight against the Greeks, the Spanish Inquisition, many of the people that would report to the Inquisition were actually Jews that betrayed their own brothers and sisters, and as soon as they found them out, they would have a autodopé, where they would have a burning him alive ceremony in front of a crowd, in front of the king. And his evil monster, Isabella, Yimach Shema V'Zichra, they would literally take joy in murdering and torturing Jewish people. The Crusades traveled for hundreds of years from Jewish town to Jewish town, decapitating and burning Jews, children, women, men. Nothing made a difference to them. The Muslims, of course, tormented the Jewish people regardless of where we were. Some people pretend like, oh no, there was peace between us. Only in your imagination. There was ceasefire, never peace. Because even their Quran says we are the enemy. Just like the New Testament. And they cannot coexist with an enemy for the long run. As soon as they see that they could benefit more by destroying us, that's what they do. But yet, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mercy has allowed us to survive nations much larger than us in size by factors of 1,000 and more, with many more weapons, with much more money, with much more powerful tools, an endless amount of hatred in their heart, but yet we survived, and they're all gone. So, the vicious version of Esav, which is the one that most people are scared of, petrified of, as we saw what happened after October 7th, every person became afraid of any Arab they saw, anyone that would support Arabs, even if they never saw Arabs themselves. A lot of foolish people would support people that would actually kill them even before they would kill the Jews, but nonetheless, everyone is afraid of the Esav version that is vicious, that's a murderer. But our history has shown us that we have survived him. We've survived. Yaakov Avinu says, yeah, but that's not the first one that I mentioned. You see, in my plea to Hashem, I said to Hashem, I plead with Hashem, Atzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav. You see, the vicious version that you're all scared of, that Hamas terrorist that you're scared of, that Nazi that you're scared of, that's Esav. Everyone knows who Esav is. Esav doesn't hide his face. Esav is Esav. He hates you. That's it. He wants to kill you. There's no qualms about it. Only reason he's not killing you right now is he's just not doing it now. It's not because he doesn't want to. It's just the opportunity's not ripe. But that's why Yaakov says, I pray to Hashem about him second. The one that I'm scared of for my descendants is the one that's the version of Esav that's Achi. The version of Esav that's my brother. And you see, Rabotai, while we survived the vicious version of Esav throughout the generations, if you look at the same history, in the same times, the version of Esav, when he comes to us as Achi, as my brother, has been much more damaging. Whether it was the Greeks that didn't try to kill us at first, they just simply wanted us to become Greeks like them. Or any of the other places, especially in the last couple of 100 years, since this whole rotten, tameh enlightenment movement started by people like Moshe Mendelssohn, Shem Reshaim Yerkav, where you see that the Esav that says he's my brother has caused a lot more damage. Many Jews fell, became reformers, became Greeks, became atheists, like Karl Marx, Shem Reshaim Yerkav, that is the founder of the communism. That Esav that pretends to be my brother is much more dangerous. And we have failed often when that version of Esav came to attack us as my brother, as Achi, and we believed his lie. At the time of the Baal HaTanya, there was a great war as Napoleon was slowly conquering the entire world and has now faced his greatest enemy, the Russians. And there was a big machloket between the Baal Tanya of Chabad and one of the other Admorim about how to face this war. Which side to support, the Russians or Napoleon? And the Baal Tanya did everything in his power to ensure that Napoleon failed. Because he knew that if Napoleon wins, there'll be less anti-Semitism in the world. Napoleon would welcome the Jews initially as if we're free people, and assimilation will skyrocket, chas v'shalom, and Jews literally would fall into the trap of the version of Esav called my brother. So even though the Russians were openly anti-Semitic, millions of Jews were murdered by the Ukrainians. Not even sure why Jews think to support Ukraine today. They're just as anti-Semitic today as they were back then. They killed millions of Jews in the Holocaust. They're murderers today. They hate us. They hated us back then. They hate us today. But nonetheless, people that ignore or just simply don't know history, for whatever reason or another, think that we're supposed to be supportive of the Ukrainians because somehow they're our friends. With friends like that, who needs enemies? And the Baal Tanya says that yes, the Russians are going to kill us. The Russians are going to torture us. But it's going to be clear that we are not Russians. It's going to be clear that we are not them. There's not going to be any assimilation. You're not going to see some Jewish yeshiva bachur marrying one of their girls. It's just not going to happen. So we'd rather have that and deal with the anti-Semitism and deal with the threat of the vicious, brutal version of Esav than deal with the threat of Napoleon and his fake friendship and welcoming that will destroy the nation with assimilation. This was a very big machloket. The Baal Tanya literally did everything and anything possible, including even sending one of his Hasidim to be a spy in the army of Napoleon. Rav Wasserman is telling us, while everyone is focusing on Hamas, on Iran, on Amalek, that's outside, we're missing the one that's pretending to be our brother. We're missing the one that's within us. How can you identify them? You have to look at the common denominator. Are they also trying to destroy the Torah? Are they also manipulating the Torah? Are they also trying to pretend like they're honoring the tzaddikim by going to their funeral, but at the same time they have no qualms about burning the tzaddik, if that's going to build them a stage? You see that the nature of the person is ruthless. You see that the nature of the person is as if they have no soul. You see that the nature of a person is very different than what a Jew is supposed to be. A Jew is supposed to be generous. A Jew is supposed to be merciful. You see that many times the mercy is not there. Had a guy call me a million times over and over again, and as many of you know, I don't have phone calls unless it's an absolute emergency, which usually it's not, because if it is, you should call the police or ambulance. But anyway, this young guy called me, and I haven't heard from him in 4 years. 4 years ago, he contacted me and told me he saw my films, wants to do tshuva, change his life. So I do the best that I can to help people, give him some words of encouragement, chizuk, and I sent him a free kiruv package, invested a few $100s in it, and sent it to this kid, even though he had plenty of money. I didn't want money to get in the way, and I sent him a bunch of material. But I never heard from him. I haven't heard from him in 4 years. But then I get a phone call, and I'm not answering the phone, and he starts texting me. He's telling me that he made millions of dollars in the cash advance business. And he went back to drugs. And he's in trouble and needs my help. Okay. Nobody else can help him. So I talked to him. So after we talk, we try to figure things out. He starts telling me about his messy life. And tells me that he was in the cash advance business, and literally within the first month he closed $100,000 in commissions worth of deals, in just a few deals. By the second month he was already closing $1 million deal. Literally made a lot of money, and I stopped him there and I said, okay, so those handful of deals that made you a bunch of money, tell me, are all of those people still in business, or they declared bankruptcy? And it didn't take him more than 3 seconds to respond, yeah, of course they're all bankrupt. Of course, they all lost everything they have. So these customers that you made 100,000 in this one, 50,000 in that one, 10,000 in this one, all these people made you a bunch of money right away, and you continued making more money. But right away you already know you're making money, but you don't know what's going to happen. So you could excuse everybody that goes into that vicious Amalek business of cash advance, and those that are like it. Well, people don't know the damage they're causing people. But you know after a few months when those same customers are declaring bankruptcy. I told him, so wait, so all of them went to bankrupt? He said, every one of them. And but what about the money? Do you still have the money? The money that you made? He goes, nah, Rabbi, all that's gone too. Every penny is gone. But now I want to go into the rehab business. I said, why do you want to go into the rehab business? He says, because all of my co-workers in the cash advance business, dozens of people, all of them are connected to the drug world in one way or another. And all of them have been damaged by it. Shem Yishmo V'Yatzid. So you have drugs, you have a corrupt, predatory business that's destroying businesses and lives day and night. Horrible. I asked him, like, listen, I sent you a package 4 years ago. At the time, you were really ripe for doing tshuva. I invested in you, put money into you, put time into you. What happened to you? Not that it matters today, but still, I want to know what happened. He said, tell you the truth, Rabbi. I spoke to you. You really woke me up. You sent me that package. I was so excited. And then I spoke to the local rabbi here in the community. I told him about you. He said, yeah, I know, he's crazy. Nobody can do that tshuva that he says. Don't listen to him. The rabbi told you this? He says, yeah, this rabbi, yeah. He's the family rabbi, family Erev Rav. So what'd you do after that? He said, listen, all the motivation that I had to do tshuva, all the motivation that I had to change came from you. I watched your films, spoke to you, got the package, but then the rabbi told me that you're crazy and no one can do what you say, so I just listened to him. And I've been literally dodging you for 4 years. And I didn't do tshuva. Instead, I went and joined the cash advance business. Instead, I continued going with goyot. Instead, I continued violating Shabbat. Instead, I went back to drugs. In fact, this time the drugs were much worse than the first time. And the sins were much bigger. And I've destroyed a lot of lives. I didn't know whether to scream or to cry. I didn't know who was the bigger murderer here. I mean, this poor kid got into a business without even having the proper tools or education of what it even is. At least not in the beginning. But I could assure you that in Shamayim, every single sin that young man made in the last 4 years, every single one of them goes to that rabbi's account. With just a few words, he literally murdered this kid. But he's a rabbi. And some of you would even know his name in different communities. He's not the most popular, but nonetheless, certainly some people know who he is. And he took a kid that was about to do tshuva, that was doing tshuva, and simply decided to tell him, stay the way you are. That's the version of Esav that's more dangerous than any missionary, that's more dangerous than any Nazi, that's more dangerous than any version of Esav that exists, because it's the Esav that's within. People get surprised at different things, but the more you see, the more you see Hashem. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a lot of patience for us. But at some point, the medicine has to change. Many times people spend all of their energy and effort protecting themselves and others from the external enemy, without realizing that the poison is already inside. One of the worst possible things that the enemy does is mak, kiruv. Mak, telling people to do tshuva. Saying, no, you're not supposed to tell people that they're wicked or that their acts are wicked. You should love everyone the same no matter what. Wait, so you're telling me, so if I came to you and I punched you in the face, you would love me anyway? Or I'm an exception because I say I do kiruv? Because according to everyone, you should love everyone the same. So you should love me the same also. The Or HaChaim HaKadosh, in this week's parasha, gives us a few very, very interesting insights. In the beginning of the parasha, Parashat Vayikra, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Am Yisrael that each one among us to bring an offering to Hashem from within themselves, mikem. And Or HaChaim HaKadosh says we need to know why the Torah has to say among you. Well, the verse could have simply said when a man brings an offering to Hashem. Another question is, why did it put off saying among you until after mentioning what is done by the person that he brings? It would have been more fitting for the verse to first set out the full description of what he's going to do, what's the act, who it's clearly talking about when it says a man, meaning that it should have finished the phrase and said, a man among you, and then mention that whatever is being done by the person. Meaning that we see that there's a lot more into this than just the simple meaning. So the first part, the Or HaChaim HaKadosh says, Rabbi Chaim ben Attar, is that the sages teach us that they interpret the you, among you, saying that this comes to exclude the renegade Jew from bringing the korban. Meaning that when Hashem says, when a man among you brings an offering to me, to Hashem, he's not referring to the renegade Jew. Now, this is not every renegade, because there's a renegade and there's a renegade. What's the difference? Says, if the renegade is rebellious against the entire Torah, meaning he disregards all of the laws of the Torah, or he's rebellious in regards to idol worship, which is equivalent to the entire Torah, then he cannot bring a sacrifice. The sacrifice is rejected. But if he's a renegade who's not rebellious against the entire Torah, then his sacrifice is accepted. So if he habitually disregards the entire Torah or engages in idol worship, then he's excluded from bringing a sacrifice. But if he's a Jew that disregards only some of the commandments but obeys others, then he's allowed to bring a korban. Now it seems that this is deep and sufficient, but it only begins this way. So you see, the same Torah that's talking about the renegade Jew is also talking about bringing a sacrifice, bringing an animal. The Avrechim says, the Torah is also trying to tell us that even on the good side, not just the rebellious Jews, but even on the good side, there's different levels among the righteous. There's instructions to men of distinction, to righteous Jews. To do what? To strive to draw the hearts of other members of the Jewish nation nearer to the service of Hashem. This is referred to as bringing an offering to Hashem. For through man's sin, a rift is formed in the attachment between the Jewish people and their Father in heaven, of which it's written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 4, but you are attached to Hashem your God, you are all alive today. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu told us. And the Jewish people become separated and distant from the Shekhinah, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu is upset by this matter, and he desires to draw them near him once again. And he therefore instructed the righteous to rebuke, to admonish anyone who is distant from him, and to draw that person's heart near to him. He prescribed a punishment for anyone who turns a blind eye to this matter. And this is your proof of the matter, says Or HaChaim HaKadosh. At the time of the destruction of the first Bet HaMikdash, Hashem instructed the prosecuting angels to begin the punishment with the holy ones. For although they themselves were innocent of wrongdoing, they did not protest against the acts of the sinners, of the renegades. As in the Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, page 55a. And conversely, Hashem has prescribed a great reward for a person who returns sinners to him and causes them to do good. In accordance with the statement that the Pirkei Avot, chapter 5, Mishnah number 18 says, whoever brings merit to the public will not have a transgression come to his way. This is because Hashem will protect him from his errors, and in reward for bringing others close to him. Now, how is this interpreted into this verse as far as the sacrifice? Says the Or HaChaim, the Torah is particular to use the term Adam, which is an expression for a man that connotes a distinction, somebody significant. Like the Zohar Kadosh says, when he draws near and whom he draws near, the verse explains by saying of you, meaning that some of the lowly ones that are among you who have rebelled against Hashem and said, God, go away from us, and have distanced themselves from attachment to Hashem, blessed be He. That is who the distinguished man, the Adam, shall draw near. And the verse says, an offering to Hashem, meaning that the one who does this, the one that does kiruv, the one that actually helps people do tshuva, this is considered to be as a korban to Hashem, as an offering to Hashem. For he hereby brings a Jew who is a shoot of Hashem's holy planting back to its root. Such a person doesn't need a vowed or a donated offering. He doesn't need to bring regular korbanot like the rest of the nation, even the righteous ones, but they're not doing kiruv. They still have to bring sacrifices for their unintentional sins. But the one that does kiruv, that brought even a single soul to do tshuva, he doesn't have to bring any sacrifices, because he has achieved the same thing by drawing a distant Jew near to Hashem. And therefore there's no situation in which he would have to bring a korban chatat or asham, which atones for unintentional sins. Because as the sages taught us, Whoever brings merit to the public will not have a sin occur through him, meaning that Hashem will protect him from sinning even in error. And if someone does not sin unintentionally, then there's no need for them to bring any sacrifice. And he continues further. Anyone who wants to look further into his holy words of the Avrechim, it's this week's Parashat Vayikra, first chapter, in the second verse. In so many words, the Avrechim HaKadosh is saying, yes, we have rebels, but they're different levels of rebels. Some of them are the worst of the worst. Some of them join the church, become the leaders of the church, become leaders in missionizing Jews to try to bring them to idolatry. And unfortunately, the most popular and successful Christian missionaries are halachically Jewish. Some of the worst heretics that the world has today are rabbis, or people that teach Torah. Whether they tell you one thing or the other, you're not even sure which is true, which is false, unless you learned in Torah. And unfortunately, many people fail. So those rebels, those enemies of the Torah, those versions of Esav that are literally trying to brutally destroy the Torah, they cannot bring a sacrifice. They cannot atone for what they did. They simply are enemies. They have no interest in ever changing. But then there's a different type of rebel. A rebel that is simply ignorant. A rebel that is simply addicted to drugs, addicted to immorality, addicted to money, addicted to all types of other things, and simply ignorant about the consequences of what happens if Hashem punishes him. That rebel, Hashem wants him back. Hashem wants him back and is waiting for him or her every single microsecond. When are they going to say Shema Yisrael? When are they going to come to shul? When are they going to learn a little bit of my Torah? When are they going to do another mitzvah? When are they going to say that I am the only God? When are they going to say, I love you, Hashem? When are they going to be afraid that I'm going to punish them? When? Every day. For thousands of years, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been waiting for that soul to come back to him. Looking for him in every corner, waiting for him in every second. Imagine a father waiting for his long-lost son that he knows is alive. And the only way for him to see him again is if the boy or the girl comes back home. There's no end to the agony of the father. As Yaakov Avinu could not stop crying over Yosef. HaKadosh Baruch Hu waits for every rebellious Jew to come back home, to stop violating Shabbat, to stop being in a corrupt business, to stop being corrupt in every aspect. But he can't force you to come home. But he can send messengers to get you. So when there's a messenger that goes and makes the sacrifice and makes the effort to go find one of Hashem's children to bring him back home, imagine the extraordinary nachat that you bring to Hashem, that you brought one of his children back, or 10, or 100, or 1,000, or 10,000, or more. Imagine the reward that the messenger would get from the king. Even if the king was a flesh and blood king, lowly flesh and blood of today, imagine what he would give a messenger that found his son and brought him home. Needless to say, the King of Kings with no limitations, no concept of time, no before, during, or after. Imagine the reward that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring and give to that messenger that brought one of his children back. Imagine the punishment and the wrath that the so-called Erev Rav, wicked enemy that told that person not to do tshuva, that person not to follow what the Torah says, but rather to follow a different path, a path of heresy, a path of addiction, a path of foolishness. When that boy was on the way home, unfortunately there's been a lot of boys on the way home that have been kidnapped by even worse monsters than the ones that originally took them. This is what Rav Elchanan Wasserman is referring to. While there are many people that think that helping people do tshuva is not necessary, they'll just do it on their own, or Hashem loves everybody, and all types of other foolishness. When we hear and read the words of our sages, whether it's the Or Chaim HaKadosh, or it's the Gemara, or it's the Zohar, or it's literally the Mishnah, and every part of our Torah, we see a very, very different tone, a very different language, a very different conclusion. Rav Elchanan Wasserman is telling us that we are worried about the enemy outside, the brutal one, while we're ignoring the one that is pretending to be our brother, and that's the one that causes the most amount of damage. That's the one that's the most dangerous. The only difference between those two is the tactics, the strategies. Their goal? Destroy your soul. Destroy your connection to the Torah. Destroy your connection to fear of Hashem. Destroy your connection to the truth. Even if they have to smile or they have to hit, they will use every method possible to achieve the common goal, which is to destroy you. And if you don't think so, that means they already have you. Solution? The more we do kiruv, the more we save more souls of precious Jews, bring them back to the truth, and excite them about helping other people avoid going to a life of crime, a life of corruption, a life where one day you're on the news and you're all over the place and everybody likes you and they like your new yacht and they like your new watch and they like your new house and they like the fact that you just wired your wife $100 million, and another day you just got sentenced to 15 and a half years in prison because you're a corrupt criminal that's been destroying lives in a cash advance business, and Baruch Hashem, you finally got at least the first part of what you deserve. Like this Rasha Joseph Laforte that finally is put behind bars. But there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more criminals. Hashem does not forget anyone. A woman could think that she could do whatever she wants. She could violate Shabbat. She could sell wigs. She could dress immodestly. She wants the whole world to look at her. The next thing you know, the whole world is looking at her because her picture is the most famous picture on the news one day. Why? Because she just killed somebody or several people by violating Shabbat and driving. And if she wanted people to look at her, now they see. And they're going to see that she goes to prison too. Because someone that desecrates Hashem's name in hiding will be exposed in public. And although we feel bad for anyone that loves this person, don't think for a moment she did not do that to herself. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made all of that happen because that's the judgment. Hopefully she does tshuva as a result of it. All of us crash at some point if we're going against Hashem. All of us will crash if we go against Hashem. The question is when. The question is if there's going to be any time left after the crash, any more opportunities. You see, Rabotai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu in His mercy gives us an opportunity every single day to abandon the evil, stop doing things that are wrong and against Hashem, and start new. And if you're already on the right path, Hashem gives you an opportunity every day to get a reward beyond anything that you could ever imagine. A reward that even someone that taught Torah, like Moshe Rabbeinu, would not get, says the sages, the Chovot HaLevavot. Someone that did mitzvot and learned Torah like Moshe Rabbeinu, but didn't do kiruv, he goes to heaven. But a person that did kiruv that helped somebody do tshuva gets a much higher level. Hashem gives us an opportunity to win big. Hashem gives us an opportunity to fix big mistakes. Hashem gives us an opportunity to destroy the evil in the world. Hashem in His mercy gives us an opportunity to go from being in a one-way direction to Gehenom to being in a one-way direction to the endless heaven. He didn't have to do that. He doesn't have to do it. He doesn't benefit out of it. Only we do. Any flesh and blood leader would simply kill anybody that goes against him. Hashem not only allows us to come back, but even after we've made multiple mistakes. Meaning that everything that He does, whether it's make somebody sick or make somebody a accidental murderer, everything that Hashem is doing for you is the best possible circumstance out of all of the circumstances that are available to you based on your actions. Meaning that if you just murdered multiple people by driving on Shabbat and selling wigs and posing with immodest pictures, apparently you were killing more neshamot doing that, and therefore it's better to cause all this to happen, this chaos to happen. In so many words, Rabotai Karim, even such a person has an opportunity to do tshuva and to fix. Even a person like me can fix. Even a person like you can fix. And once you already are in the process of fixing, you can help other people fix. You can help other people do good. And you could turn a report card full of punishments and sins into endless reward, endless perfect grade, to the point where you don't even have to bring a sacrifice. Imagine the sacrifices, the entire Bet HaMikdash. The whole thing of the Bet HaMikdash is bringing sacrifices. Thousands and millions of sacrifices. This is the ultimate thing. The physical world exists for these sacrifices. The Or Chaim Kadosh says, you brought one of Hashem's children back. Needless to say, if you brought more than one, you don't need to bring the sacrifices. Why? You already brought more than enough. What about sins? You don't have any. Why? because you made doing kiruv, supporting kiruv, kiruv is your helping people do tshuva and get back to Hashem, is your priority in life in some way or another, whether it's financially or time or skill or whatever it is. It's your priority number one in life. Even the accidental sins Hashem will protect you from. Meaning, there's no need for you to bring a sacrifice. You're clean. That's why the Zohar Kadosh says, person that does kiruv, that helps people do tshuva, they have no judgment in heaven. They just simply go through the whole thing. No one can talk to them. They can just do whatever they want. They go to any place in heaven they want. And yes, even if before they did that, they were a criminal, like many other people. Maybe less, but needless to say, they weren't on the right path. Hashem, in His mercy, has given us the opportunity. And He gives us an opportunity with every moment that we're alive. If a person knew the significance of that, literally they'd be dancing day and night. The one barrier that's holding us back from helping the entire world do tshuva, Rabotai, is not the Amalek, the Esav of vicious knives and guns and murder. No. It's the other version of Esav. It's the one that comes to you with a smile. Says he's your friend. Says he's a colleague. Says he also teaches Torah. Says he also wants to help people. Even if what he says is against the Torah. And he tells people not to listen to what Torah says, because he has a new Torah. That version of Esav is the most dangerous. It's the one that's the most confusing, and historically speaking, it's the one that has caused the most damage to Am Yisrael, whether it was from the time of the Greeks, or the Germans, or today. Take advantage of the opportunity and the holy words of Elchanan Wasserman and his warnings. Take them to heart. Apply them to your life in every aspect. Whether it's to take advantage of the opportunity to do tshuva and fix whatever mistake you've made today, last week, last month, last year, your whole life, whatever it is. And also to make supporting kiruv your top priority in your life, more important than your stock and bond portfolio or your investment in real estate, more important than your career on Wall Street or in real estate or in banking or a law, whatever it is. Why? Because when you invest into kiruv, you're investing into your eternity, and no one is going to benefit from that more than you. Thank you very much for learning with me. May Hashem bless each and every single one of you to actually take these words to heart and apply them in the most extraordinary way so you see the success and blessings you get from it in this world and the next. Anyone that wants to donate and support can donate on the Pesach campaign, can donate on the website, BeEzrat or the app, or the many other different ways. Thank you very much. To School of Mitzvot. BeEzrat Hashem will learn again soon. Kol Tuv.